Good afternoon and welcome to this session on making the perfect pitch, not just for a business plan competition, but when you're pitching to investors, pitching to employees, pitching to your partners, essentially about how do you make the perfect pitch so that you, your team, your company, the value proposition turns out to be absolutely top rate. So welcome to all the participants, welcome to all the attendees. And the objective of today's session is to hear directly from entrepreneurs who are in the thick of action, who have great experience in making multiple or umpteen pitches to different kinds of stakeholders. We'll hear from them. And it's my pleasure to introduce the following participants, panelists to the audience members. First, we have Shanti Mathur, who is the founder, CEO of Prime Medic, which is a marketplace for medical equipment. We have Ayush Rathi, who is the founder, CEO of Rubaru Walks. We have Abhilesh Gupta, who is the CEO of Ayu Rhythm. And then we have Seher Mansoor, who is the founder, CEO of Bare Necessities. And this is being done in partnership with Thai Women SIG, and intended for the large audience of people who are very keen to understand what it means to make the perfect pitch. So with that brief context setting, what I will do is I will have each of the panelists speak briefly and present their key takeaways, their key tips and key points they wish to make about what they believe makes for a perfect pitch. Thereafter, we will have a set of Q&As that I will moderate with the panelists, and then the audience will get a chance to interact. So my request to all of you attendees, all of you participants, is to please post all your questions in the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of the screen. I will select those and pose it to the panelists. And depending on the question, either all of them can choose to answer, or some of them, or just one of them, that we will play by ear. I also want to welcome Geeta Ramamurthy of Thai. She's been a key pillar of Thai, as both in Boston and in Bangalore, and is one of the people leading the Thai Women's Initiative. And that's a warm welcome to Geeta as well. Hi, Geeta.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Yeah, and so it's wonderful to do this program in partnership with Thai, and I hope it's going to be of great value to all of you attendees. So without further ado, move it on to the first panelist, Shanti. If you can just share with the audience very quick your set of important takeaways, important tips that you have that the audience members can learn from. Over to you.
Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, so quick introduction about myself. I'm the founder of Prime Medic India, which is a B2B e-marketplace for medical equipment, buying, selling, servicing, renting, etc. for small and medium hospitals. Now, these hospitals are typically 10 to 100 bed in size, doctor owned and operated, and such hospitals constitute more than 90% of our healthcare scenario, and they provide affordable healthcare to masses. So our aim is to help them with good quality equipment, whether it is new or used, and provide reliable services. So far, we have worked with more than 250 hospitals in 6+ states, mainly in the south, and we are looking to now expand our footprint across the country. And last year, we made a pitch in the Thai Women Global contest, and we were placed the second runner-up, thanks to Geeta and the rest of the Thai team, who really guided us well as to how to make a pitch. Okay. To make the perfect pitch. So this is the content they shared with us, the Thai Women team, with all the participants, and whether you're making a pitch to employees or customers, naturally the content will vary. But if you're making it to an investor, okay, I'm sure there are a lot of templates and formats that are there in the internet if you go and Google it. But broadly, this is the content that all of them would be talking about. Now, should you stick to this content, right? My suggestion would be, yes, please do, because this is something which is suggested by people who have been through thousands of pitches, and it's a synthesis of what the investors are looking for, right? So pick up this content and weave it into your own story. That is very important. Okay, so whether you should be following the exact same order or just have one slide at least for each one of this topic is up to you. You can be flexible with it, but important thing is that your pitch flows like a story, right? When you're talking about it, right? And how do you get that right? I mean, you have to get the message. Okay, you need to have it flowing like a story, and you have to fit into the time. Especially if you're going to make an investor pitch, you will be given like 5 minutes or 7 minutes. You need to deliver within the right time frame, right? That comes through only with preparation and practice. So my suggestion is, once you have the deck, you speak it out, record it, and hear it yourself. How much time are you taking? Where are the kinks? Where is the order not coming in properly? Where the emphasis should be more or less? Look at it for yourself and correct it, record it again, and rehearse it again, till you are comfortable with the flow and it just comes out beautifully, right? That's the most important thing I feel for a good pitch to be delivered. Now, the one important thing which people would have suggested is that, if you're making a pitch to an investor, state the problem that you're solving, okay, and the solution you're giving very clearly to make the right impact in the first few minutes, so that the investor sits through the rest of the presentation. Now, very often just stating the problem, what you're solving, and the solution doesn't help. And what has helped me is that, why should this problem be solved? What happens if you don't solve this problem? How does the world change if you solve this problem? If you present the problem statement in the context of the impact, the larger picture, it really is forceful. Similarly, when you're talking about the solution, talk about why this solution is the best way of solving the problem, right? Why other solutions are less effective, right? So that kind of statement I found has been far more impactful. The other thing which I want to talk about is the use of videos and pictures, and sometimes people suggest that you do a product demo and things like that. Unfortunately, I've seen people, just play the video and doesn't seem to be in the right context. To me, it is important to use every element and place it in the right place in the storyline that you are talking about. And please, just after the video also, highlight the takeaways. Don't imagine that the audience will get the picture, get the message. It is important that you connect with the audience, talk about what you are showing in the video as well, right? And connection with the audience is also, again, very important to me. I like to know who's there, what is their background, how much do they know about my business, so that I can tailor make my messaging to them. And it is also very important for me to see them see a nodding head or smiling face, so that I get into the flow of making the pitch. And maybe it's the same for you. And so bring in the entire energy and enthusiasm every time you're making a pitch, okay, even if you're making it for the 100th time, right? And even if you're not, the audience is not visible to you. And I'm saying this because just a couple of months back, I was making a pitch, and they said, you have 7 minutes. I got a Zoom link. I was waiting. And when I was let into the audience, this is the screen I see. When I was let into the meeting, there's a lot of, this is a little fuzzy so that you don't see the exact names. But the point is, I couldn't see a single face, and so connecting with the audience becomes difficult. And then someone spoke and said, you have 5 minutes and your time starts now. But suddenly I had to cut down my pitch from 7 minutes to 5 minutes, okay, and without losing an impact. So these are the kind of situations I have faced, and hope you don't face it, but chances are you will. So my suggestion is that you prepare for a 3-minute pitch, 2-minute pitch, 5-minute pitch, 7-minute pitch every time, okay, and in a matter of a fraction of seconds, decide what to drop without losing the impact of your pitch, right? If you come across such a situation. So these are the key suggestions.
Yeah. Thanks, Shanti. That was very helpful. And what we'll do now is move on next to Ayush, thereafter Abhilesh, and then we'll have Seher bring up the end of the entire session with panelists. So over to you, Ayush. And like Shanti mentioned, you have 5 minutes, so please be cognizant of that.
Great. Thanks, Sanjay, and thanks, Shanti, for very neatly laying down what the ideal pitch structure should be. So the way I am going to try and use my 5 minutes is like 5 points I have jotted down, which I thought in our personal preparation of the pitch, we found them to not be very intuitive, right? So something that we had to work hard upon. I'll just try to share them, and hopefully that will help you gain some perspective. So firstly, this was the opening slide of like our most recent pitch, and one of the most first changes that we've done is earlier when we used to present, we would talk about ourselves in the end, right? You see a lot of templates on the internet, and very often teams are introduced at the back, and we would just start away with a brief introduction of okay, this is what the organization is trying to achieve. Like in our case, Rubru Walks, we are trying to bring people face to face with the Indian heritage, right? And we've been doing it over 6 years. And earlier we would then move on to, okay, just why is this? What is the problem, etc. But before that, I think it becomes important because ultimately you are the face of your organization, and it becomes important to establish your credentials, right? So put it out there, whether it is the educational institutions which you've been at or where you've worked. And also, I mean, while that can be on the slide, you can talk about your personal story of why this idea resonates with you. Why did you decide to start it in the first place? I think that becomes like a good story to start off with, and helps people get connected right in the first slide itself, right? Like you're starting with your own story. Then secondly, Shanti ji said, that state the problem. I mean, very often because you've been working on that problem for a long time, you start taking it for granted, but the members of the audience may not be thinking about it all the time, just like you are. Of course, I mean, it is important to be very succinct in that messaging. You don't want to be stating the obvious, but find that catchphrase, that what is it at the heart of it, what is the problem that you're trying to solve, and lay it out very clearly. Let it be like a big, very important problem, so that the audience is then invested in that. Hey, I resonate with that problem, and I want to see how can it be solved. Next, of course, you go through your customer slides, the market size, what is your addressable, market within the overall thing. How is it that you're going to solve it? So your products and services, who are you competing? Just how are you different? Now, in this, how are you different? I think this becomes, I mean, for us, this is the third section, which was, not exactly intuitive, where we would start off with, okay, listing down what are the things that we are doing differently, but just what is it very tangibly put, what is it which is, making you or your organization the player who is best positioned to deliver it. So think hard about, what are your USPs. And very often in a non-tech business, it may not be as black and white to figure out what those USPs are. Sometimes, over the course of time, you develop some processes which you don't really realize. I mean, it's not like you started off trying to lay down a process, and you might think that, okay, there is a lot of, abstraction in just how you're doing things, but ultimately there is some process somewhere. So just try to figure out what is that, what is it, is it the process of how you create your experiences of products, select the people, maybe it is the community that you have established. So talk about it and just put it out there. Let people see that it is not very easy to replace you. I mean, for someone else, if they wanted to come and do this, will not be as easy. So this is very important. I would say that was my number 3 point. Number 4, I mean, very clearly lay down what is your business model, right? And this will, just how you do this will vary from organization to organization based on which stage of growth you are in. In our case, like, we have been in business for some time, so we established it by showing our actual numbers. You can do it also by just putting out the unit economics there, but it is very important to show that how is the money coming in, who are the customers, how are they paying, how much are you, what is your CAC, what is your ARPU, what is your bottom line. I'm sure, I mean, these are terms you're all very well familiar with, but like very important to lay it out, as clearly as possible. Then talk about also some of the softer points, right? I mean, not necessarily just the numbers, but who are some of the marquee clients you've worked with, and your media coverage, etc. It always helps to establish credibility. Then when you are putting the final pitch, as in when you are saying that, okay, this is your these are your projections, this is how you envision your organization to grow, and this is the money that you need for that to happen. It's always great to sort of lay down just how are you planning to use that money which you are asking for, right? Like we are talking about an investor pitch here, so ultimately you are trying to ask for money. So lay it out very clearly that, okay, when you take that money, these are the areas you're going to use it, whether it is technology or marketing or growing the team. So lay that down very clearly, and if there is growth, hopefully, which there is, just lay it out, where is that growth going to come from, and yeah, I mean, ultimately, what is it that you're looking for. So once again, I'll just summarize the 5 points. Start with who you are, put it out there. I mean, ditch the humility in that. Second, lay out the problem very succinctly. Three, what is your USP? Think hard about that, and your business model, and where is it that you're going to use your money. And finally, I think, I mean, one cannot emphasize enough that practice your pitch. I mean, you might think that you know it
Yeah.
in and out, but yes, just practice it.
Great. Thanks, Ayush. Thanks very much indeed. That was again very helpful. Over to Abhilesh,
Thank you.
CEO
Thank you.
of
I'll go.
Ayurhythm.
Thank you. I'll go next. So
Yes,
basically,
please.
Ayurhythm is your personalized holistic wellness platform. I would just introduce the company first, where we are using the ancient Indian science of health assessment. It is tech enabled now, and basis the science, then we offer people the wellness advisory. So what we do is, so I've created a 10 templates, 10 slides, sample pitch here that we generally use. So first page, as first slide, as Ayush mentioned, we would talk about the company first, the unique proposition there, the founder, and also mention the story, the connection that you have. You may be friends, you may be neighbors, you may be the connect with the story there. Then your details, which is very essential. Introduce yourself in the beginning itself, and crisp and relevant experience there. The second slide, what we do is we generally go and talk about the problem statement that I think Shanti and Ayush also covered now, where you make sure that some images are there, and you're mentioning the challenges and how you are going to address those challenges. What is it that you've been able to develop? The third is definitely the market size, the opportunity. Can you be a unicorn there? So TAM, SAM, SOM, if you are only in India, talk about India, or if you are, you have global ambitions, talk about that in this slide. Then do mention the source of information that that you put in here, because that is very, very important for a lot of, I'm talking about the investors that we pitch to. Then we get into the solution. This is a 10 slider. So then we get into the solution mode, where we talk about the very technology, or what is it that we have created. So whether we have used a technology, we've used some copyrighted code or whatever, so that you mention here. Do mention that you have any certifications, validations, etc., or if you have filed for IP, etc. You've created your own modes around this technology. Then do talk about the solution that we have. I'm giving an example of Ayurhythm here. We use a method here, and then we come up with these 7 health parameters. And once we have that, then there is a home screen and it's a mobile app. So we talk about how the first what is the process flow there, how the whole thing moves forward, and how the solution comes in front of you. And also we do talk about here the additional value adds that we have, if any, in the solution. And then we talk about our journey so far, where we mentioned the these user metrics, those so many number of downloads. These are my monthly active users. How much time people are spending? Am I am I already generating revenue or not? Or any other metrics that you may have. And then, like Ayush mentioned, do talk about your awards and recognitions. Do mention the names of the company. Put their logos out here, and do mention your PR links, press release, etc. On the same slide. Then This is important. Investors are interested in your business model, in your tech business model and go-to-market strategy. So do talk about your business model. What would be your revenue stream 1, 2, 3, or and then how do you make money? Rev share, fees, subscription. How do you generate money from your solution? And then we also mentioned here all the channels of go-to-market strategy that we have. See, being a startup, you'll have to project that you are going to try and best keep your CAC low. So what are those channels where you would be spending less amount of money, and you'd be that you have to I suggest to put here. Then we do this competitive landscape where we have these 2 axes basically, where we talk about whether B2B or a business model basically, and personalization levels. So here you can categorize all your competitors out there, put them in the right place, just try and put their logos only, and then where you are, you put yourself there. Just make sure, like Ayush mentioned, that talk about the differentiators. How is it you are going to sustain? What are the moats? What are the unique solutions that you might have around this around the startup that you've created? Then what is your growth strategy? Try and keep a very simple schematic picture there. Talk about what is your plan for, what was it in the first year, the second year, the third year, whether what are your milestones in second year, or what product enhancements you are going to do, what expansions, growth plans, etc. You do mention all of those here. And then you can also put on the same slide about your revenues for all the 3 years, user acquisitions, or different partnerships that you are going to make in this period. Then talk about and I'm talking about pitching to the investors here. So this is what we do. We talk about the funding requirement that we have. So what is our current round size? If there are any commitments, what is our pre-money valuation, and for how many months it's going to. You need to talk about your runway, and where are you going to. And then also do mention here previous round details if you've had any, and how are you going to deploy the funds. So this is a typical pitch that we do. Thank you, and try and keep appendix there. So in case some of your investors, if they would want additional information, you can attach those slides there.
Thanks, Abhilash. Thanks very much. That was very crisply done. And now bringing up the rare, and as the cliche goes, last but not the least, Seher Mansoor of Bare Necessities. And I'm giving an advance warning. After this, we jump into Q&A. So all the in-syllabus and out-of-syllabus questions will be delivered at that time.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Seher Mansoor. I'm the founder of Bare Necessities. Sustainable products that are, designed not to land up in our oceans and landfills. So we create things like compostable bamboo toothbrushes, stainless steel straws, everything that you need to live a more sustainable and conscious lifestyle. So for me, I think I'm just going to share like a few things that really worked for me. Actually, I looked at some of my old pitch decks in preparation for this. And I think making a perfect pitch is kind of this process of evolution. I think you just keep getting better and better as you kind of keep refining and crystallizing your story and kind of practicing how you actually articulate what you're trying to do. And then I want to say also that it's a bit of a trial and error. So don't expect your first pitch to go perfectly, and that's totally okay. Don't kind of beat yourself about it. It only means that you now know how you can get prepared for that one answer that you didn't have an answer for the first time around. I think be really crystallized. So be very crisp and articulate about your messaging. A brand that maybe we all love and know, and their brand motto is just do it, right? Nike. They're not telling you their brand motto is, we know how to make you just do it, right? It's just do it. So be very crisp and clean about your messaging. I think also a convincing presentation is super important. Be persuasive, know your stuff, show that you're a subject matter expert in this. I think a more persuasive presentation goes far more than just like a aesthetically gorgeous one. So that's another thing. And then the other thing is I really like 3-part messages. It could be whatever, the good, bad, the ugly, the problem, solution, insights. Whatever you're trying to tell a story and make sure the messaging is really clear. So people are kind of going with you on your pitch as you kind of story tell. I think to kind of add to my colleague's point here, who's already mentioned, I always would put the team at the very end. And I think I learned this much later. And I think it actually built a huge sense of confidence for me pushing the team up in front. Because maybe psychologically, I was like, we have such an amazing badass team. And if anyone's going to solve this problem, it's going to be us. And then also, rather than just calling the slide team, maybe make it a little bit more powerful and bold, like 35 years plus of experience. Maybe for your products, you can say 50,000 units sold. If you can, instead of the problem, you can say the largest global garbage crisis of our lifetime. And for solution, maybe you can say enter name of your startup. So you can get a little playful and a little fun about it. I think logos really help. Maybe when you're sharing about a little bit about who your team is, where they're coming from. If you're going to write like a bunch of details like this, as if it's their CV or LinkedIn or on a small slide, it can get really overwhelming. So just put like clear, crisp logos. So people already have that brand recognition associated with the logos, so they quickly can associate with where everyone's coming from. So I think this is something that also really helped in terms of articulating who we are and where we come from. And I think that kind of really helped the messaging kind of go on. I'm just going to share a few slides from our deck and some of the tweaks based on suggestions that we got. Use pictures to, again, enhance your story and like really kind of, go along that storyline that you're trying to build. So what is the impact you're trying to create? How are you doing that? How many units? Try and put metrics associated with different things. We've helped divert 30 million units of plastic diverted. So we, instead of writing impact slide, we chose to just kind of articulate quite boldly what we've actually done and what we've kind of measured over the past few years. I think that's just a little bit about my suggestions. I think also just be open to feedback, especially when you're a newbie. I think there's so much growth and so many ideas that you can incorporate from good suggestions. So while you might be really attached to a slide or all of that stuff, just be open-minded about feedback and incorporating that, because the people that you're reaching out to clearly just want you to make the best version of your slide. So, kind of take that with a pinch of salt and try and incorporate it to the best of your ability. I would also say that, it's a trial and error also, because, I was looking at some of those old slides, and some things I've tried to articulate over 3 slides, I've now kind of been able to articulate in 1 slide. So just becoming a little bit more crystallized about my messaging. And I think that's also been really useful. Also just kind of putting timelines, like what are you going to achieve in the next few months? Like what are some of those things that you're going to achieve and how you're going to do it? Putting it in a pictorial message manner, but also showing the potential investors that you've actually thought about it and you have a plan going forward. Will also kind of instill trust in the people that you're asking money for. So yeah, those are just some of my 2 cents.
Excellent. So these are some of your favorite things. Wonderful. Very nice. Thanks, Sahar. Thanks, everybody on the panel. Let me now invite the attendees to keep posting your questions in the Q&A box as we launch into our own quiet session here with the panelists. So, there are decks and there are decks and there are presentations and there are presentations, right? You get to see at 2 extremes, some presentation decks that look like a dictionary with a lot of words, a lot of, fine print, that's on one side. On the other side, there are decks that look like a Google search box, very bare, minimalistic. What is your own suggestion? What kind of decks, the fonts, the colors, the font sizes, all of that, or should it be pure visuals? Should it be sparse? What is your suggestion? What's been your experience? You can go in any order, would love to hear from each one of you. Let's go with Sahar first.
Sure. I think it should be really telling that story and enhancing your storyline as much as possible and strengthening that. I think in terms of color and things like that, you should try and keep it true to your brand identity, because clearly you've already thought about your brand identity. You've spent some time building that. So it should kind of mirror those values, I think. And I think, being kind of cautious about how much text you want to put and kind of just keeping it to the crystal clear things that you really need to the bare necessities is what I would go for.
Okay. Shanti?
I agree with Sahar. I think to put it in a gist, it's going to be a mix. I think you use visuals and of course put out some text there. But yeah, overloading the slide is never helpful because people don't have the time to read and they get lost, and actually they are looking at you, they're listening to you. So the deck should support. I mean, in fact, the perfect pitch is something which you say without the deck. I mean, as I say, you don't need to be a slave to the deck. I mean, you can just narrate the story. But if the deck is there, it should exactly align with what you're talking about. No unnecessary stuff there.
So what's your recommendation? I mean, I noticed you had Guy Kawasaki on one, I think slide 1 or slide 2.
That's
But he's got a famous 10, 20, 30 rule.
30 rule, yeah. And
so what is your own thinking around it?
Yeah, I mean, he said 10 slides, 20 minutes, and nothing smaller than 30 font size. Yeah, but when you don't get 20 minutes, you get 2 minutes, then what do you do?
Yeah. So, that's my next question. We'll address that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the point is, then you really need to tailor make. And I think time and again, people have said that, just get the key message across. And like Sahir said, it doesn't come at the first time, and you keep doing it and then you perfect the story. But yeah, overloading the slide never helps. It has to be a good mix of pictures and visuals and message. The message has to be just, someone told me that, the best pitch I saw was from Narayan Murthy. It just had 1 slide and 3 bullets. And I thought, I mean, if it's Narayan Murthy, he didn't even need that single slide, right? I mean, he can just go extempore. So that's the thing. I mean, it's what you're talking. And if you're presenting the visual, it should be conveying something. Yeah. If you're writing some bullets, it should be conveying something. Just that, and no unnecessary stuff. That's what I would recommend.
Right. Thank you. Ayush.
I mean, honestly, nothing more to add beyond what Sahir and Shanti have mentioned.
All of the above. Huh?
So, I mean, if I was to highlight just the key bullets, maybe, like too much text, people will end up reading nothing. So you might as well, be selective about one thing that you definitely want them to focus on. You put it out there. If you can replace it with a picture, nothing like it. And ultimately, I mean, it's just a function of the story that you're wanting to tell and what you think is the best way, the most frugal way of telling it. Yeah, just go with that.
Avilesh?
Yeah, absolutely answered. I think already Google is the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Keep the pictures, keep it minimum as minimalistic as you can be.
Yeah.
You generally, when we talk about investors and all, so there is one pitch deck that you share with them, and that's where you would keep it as minimum as possible, but make sure that you use the powerful words there, you use the right pictures there and all that. Then you get on a call, and generally deep dive calls are 45 minutes or 1 hour or so. That's where you can bring in some more details, but in general the basic pitch has to be as minimalistic
and use as many visuals as possible. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So if you put the right visual with the right crisp message, that pretty much conveys everything. Now what happens, right? I mean, you prepared, let's say you've done all this preparation, you prepared a fantastic deck and all of that, and you're really happy and everything, and you land up to meet the investor, and the investor says exactly like Shanti said, hey, look, I've got the 2 minutes. That is one scenario. I've seen a lot of investors. I mean, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs who break out into cold sweat when many a time when people say, yes, I know all this, move on to the main piece of your offering. You still find entrepreneurs wanting to go in the exact sequence in which they've been prepared, right? So that is one issue I'd like you guys to talk about. The second is, what happens when you get interrupted all the time with questions? Right? You prepared something and you got a flow. You're in the middle of the flow. The investors say, hey, all this, we know all this stuff. Why are you doing this? Why not this? Stuff like that, right? You keep getting interrupted, and it happens all the time, right? So how would you respond? What's your quick tips to the audience? Let's start with you, Avilesh.
So basically, the answer to the first question is Shanti had already mentioned, be prepared with 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes kind of story. One. Do practice your pitch as much as you can. Do record, so sometimes if you have to, you should know what is your 2 minutes talk, what is your 5 minutes pitch, what is your 7 minutes pitch, and immediately jump, because you are there right in front. Now you can't go back. You might be sweating, but it has to be delivered now. So that's something that and it'll only come with the practice. It is something that one has to go through. And then the answer, when you get interrupted, see, generally a lot has evolved in recent days. If I make 10 pitches, I think there will be one where I get interrupted in between. So generally what I do is I set the tone right in the beginning when I start my pitching, and I'll tell them that let me just go through the deck, and you may please note down your questions, and I would be open to answering those. But if I still get interrupted, I have no choice but to answer those questions, because this is, you're talking to somebody you're trying to raise money from. So, and some people, and it also depends on whom are you pitching to. So if it is a engineer on the other side, that he would have that curiosity there. Or if it is a pure finance guy on the other side, his intention is to just you go to the business slide, and I will start asking questions no matter what. So then you'll have to put up with that. I mean, you can't just do, but try and set it in the beginning itself.
Got it. Ayush, you had something to say previously as well as this. A quick response.
So yeah, I mean, previously what I was saying was that another way of looking at how much text, pictures, etc. is you take the stipulated time, and while you're practicing that pitch, that okay, if you've got 5 minutes, that's the maximum time you're going to get. So as you're practicing pitching for those 5 minutes, just focus on what are the elements which are actually useful. What are you building on top of from the slides? Everything else you can just do away with.
Yeah.
And then even if you have to cut down on time, so then coming to the next question, if you have less time, I would think that state the problem that you're trying to solve, why it is important, and then what do you need to solve it. So because everything else sort of are gaps which can be plugged along the way. I mean, which then you can start answering as they ask the questions.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. And Shanti, anything to add? Seher?
Seher, you go ahead.
No,
Seher, you go ahead.
Very well. I don't have anything more to add.
So, so all of the above.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would like to add is that if you're getting interrupted, maybe one interruption, you cater to it. But if it is too many, then I think whatever you are saying is not aligned with what they are looking for. So my response would be, and I have done that, put aside the laptop and start just talking to them, and answering the question, and then go on, and the questions will keep coming.
Yes,
that helps. There's no point forcing your presentation on them.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. And one other thing I would like to mention to everyone, normally what happens is you find that the entrepreneur spends a lot of time on obvious slides. The market is so big according to, and there's a laundry list of 400 research reports, right? We all know that. Nobody's interested in solving world peace. Just tell us what you are going to do to solve it, right? That is another important thing. No point saying people are dying of poverty. We know that. Tell us what you are doing to solve it, right? So the important thing is cut to the chase, right? All this context setting, is a waste of time, right? Because that's the thing. Okay, now let me do one thing. We've got about 20 minutes left. We have some questions in the Q&A box. I'm going to choose the questions and leave it out to the panelists for them to respond to. And now one question has come from Roshan Vanka. He says, do we need to do homework about the investor we are meeting and the points we need to see about the investor? What's the quick checklist or the background research you want to do about the investor that you're going to pitch to? Shanti, you, then Seher, and then Abhilesh and Ayush.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, LinkedIn is a good place to start, and just see what the background, where all they've worked. That is important, so that you can, what they are likely to be interested in, and then you straight away come to that in your messaging. So yes, homework needs to be done. And in case you see that there is a big gap in the background, then you need to tailor the messaging accordingly. Yeah.
Got it. Seher?
Yeah, definitely. Totally. You should see what are the other portfolios you invested in. Do they have a tech focus? Do they have a product FMCG focus? And that will also just really help you narrow down your search into who you actually are going to, and see who you really resonate with.
Right.
I think your research process helps you get closer to what you're looking for as well. So I think it's one of the biggest and most important steps.
Mm-hmm. Ayush?
Yeah, I suppose, I mean, these things, and also, I mean, see where they have invested, and see if you can draw any parallels between some of those companies and the kind of solutions that you are proposing, and if you can bring that out during your pitch, I mean, it just helps the point resonate more. And they
Right.
also see that, oh, you've done your homework.
Got it. Okay. Abhilash?
Exactly what Ayush and Shanti and Sahar mentioned. So you need to tailor, you need to do a lot of homework on the investor that you're pitching to, try and see, the sectors that they're investing in. Do you fall into those categories? Because that gives you pretty much good chance to,
Yeah.
tailor your pitch accordingly.
Got it. And
One more thing I would
yeah.
like to add is
Yes, Shanti.
not necessarily for the investor pitch, but even otherwise in any business interaction, it's important to know. Maybe you know somebody, and you can mention that there is a common person that you know,
Reference.
and that brings the
Absolutely.
credibility.
Establish a connection either
Connection
through
and
the product or the
credibility.
business or an individual.
Yeah, they can do a
Right.
reference check for you. I mean,
Right. Next question from Sharmishta Mazumdar. How important is it for the panel to understand the market, for you to understand your market? In other words, who you're pitching to, what happens if they don't have any clue, the awareness is low. That is on one side. And a related question I would say is, people, you'll see that they are very fidgety. They're busy on their laptops, they're busy on their phones. A couple of people are yawning by the side, the standard way of yawning without opening your mouth. All those you will see on display. As a entrepreneur pitching, how should you react? How should you respond? They're clueless about the market, or they're really bored. What should you do?
Yeah, I guess channel your inner theatric Seher, like pretend you're like, dancing and you're a 10-year-old or whatever. Just face on and, pretend like everyone else is thinking, but you are a performer in those 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and that's your minute to shine. And maybe one person in that room is going to get it, and maybe that one person is going to be your advocate. So don't ever underestimate.
So don't give up. Make sure that your performance is such, and figure out, or maybe drop the presentation, get into conversation mode, right? So that at least the person sort of wakes up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, but keep the expectation low in terms of actually getting the money.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that is universal, independent of the level of excitement they display.
Yeah.
Question. Yeah.
The question, maybe instead of just starting to share what you want to, you can open with a question, which will generally get people to think and get more engaged.
Establish a connection. I mean, yeah. Now, typically some questions have come about the forecasting and all that. Again, from Roshan Vanka has asked, and about the forecasting. How important is it to have accurate numbers? And if you're a startup, how do you forecast and how do you show those numbers? Is there any sort of magic rule here with regard to how you should show your numbers with regard to either the quantum or the way in which you display it, or maybe it's not just revenue, but it is with regard to their traction or customers that you have? How would you recommend showing it? Is graphically, or just in a table, or just by saying, hey, look, we're just 6 months old, but we're really rocking it? What would be your quick tips?
So in a pitch, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Abhilash. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
In a pitch, of course, graphically you have to show it, but definitely you have to have your forecasts ready. Numbers there have to be references. Maybe it is from the competition, or in the sector that you're playing, or in the market that you're playing. 1, 2 is your own experience as a solution provider there, that what has been in last 6 months, ever since you launched your startup, what has been the traction there. So definitely it has to be there in the deck. But otherwise, in general, there is always a second call when they talk about your projections, etc., with the investors, where you actually go on the Excel.
Yeah.
So there's no pitch deck there, and that's when you present.
So the second call is good news.
Yes, it is generally a good news.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from any one of the other panelists?
Yeah, I guess it's also a function of what stage you are in. I mean, if you've been in the business for some time, then the onus is high, like the burden of proof. You can't just be putting numbers out there. But if you're just starting out, I guess it's it becomes often an exercise in vain if you are trying to get just too much down in the details and getting every number right, because like, the market situation changes as you start working on your solution. And I don't think, it is absolutely essential to get down to every number being correct. But yes, you should have the logic, the structure that, okay, these are the heads that you have to sort of, consider if you are arriving at a revenue projection. What are the underlying, let's say if it is A times B plus CB and, whatever, at least that structure should be clear in your mind. But I would say that, exact figures are not
not as important as the
Will never be
underlying
there.
assumptions.
Yes.
It will never be there. Exact
Yeah,
numbers
yeah.
you will never have.
But the assumptions have to be logically sound.
Logically.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, a couple of other questions have come in. One is from Sharanya Kumar, and again from Roshan Wanka. I'll club these two questions. Any difference in your pitching style or the deck if you pitch to, let's say, an angel versus a VC? And the second is, how do you show your competitive advantage and strengths without really bad mouthing your competition? Ayush, and then Shanti, and then Seher and Abhilash.
So the first question, I think, it's more a function of, which one do you want to go for? Often they are not interested in the same, like your business is either an angel business or a VC business. So what I've understood, like, in our case, we are not a VC business who are looking for, 100x growth potential or something like this. So it really is a function of that. VCs are looking for a lot of, growth. And then the second question, how do you establish
without bad mouthing the competition?
Superiority. I think, just focus on, like, boil it down to the aspects that, okay, the problem that you're solving, what are the metrics on which, the solution has to be measured, and just show, as much as possible that how are you doing on each one of them, and let that show that, okay, clearly, you are ticking more boxes than your competition, so you have to be better. Talk about the aspects or the features more than, how the others are getting it wrong.
Yeah.
I guess, that's what you do SWOT analysis for, or, like you said, put down the parameters, key success factors, and show where each one of us, each one of the parties are, that without bad mouthing, it becomes clear.
Yeah. Anything else, Seher and Abhilash?
No, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Seher.
Yeah, slightly unrelated, but I think it's also really important to maintain an Excel of when you do reach out to the investors, when you do have a call with them, when you do have a meeting. So you have that reference sheet, because I think from early days to now, I've had some people say, come back to me in a few times, and someone else from their team has reached out to me. So you might, it's so overwhelming and you might lose track. So I think it's quite important to maintain like a nice Excel to track like your leads, who you're speaking to, when was your last conversation, how far it went, what was the advice they gave you. And that's also really
so important. Like a sales pipeline.
Yeah, create that sales pipeline and start updating it from day one.
Yeah, I agree. Abhilash?
Never badmouth your competitor.
Yes, I agree.
They are your friends,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what you talk about your differentiators, like differentiations from the others, like what Ayush mentioned. Talk about IPs that you might have. Talk about the different features that you might have, or other good offerings that you might have, or the area itself, or probably the market that they are addressing and what you are targeting. But never badmouth. They help you create a sector.
Yeah, I agree. Good point. Another question that's come up with regard to taking the help of a third party, from Kanchan Dwivedi, this question. Do you take the help of a third party, a professional pitch deck creator?
Say strongly no.
Strongly no. Okay.
No.
Ayush, Shanti.
As well as you. And no one will tell your story as authentically as yourself.
Correct. Absolutely.
So I'm assuming Ayush and Shanti are in agreement.
Well, totally. The content and the format has to be yours. But one feedback I have received, okay, is that your pitch deck looks fuddy-duddy. Okay. Now, I guess, one is in that generation where you're not using So I asked this question to someone, some experts say, what are the tools? What are the contemporary tools people are using to make it look stylish? Maybe there you can take help of some people, but yeah, the content, the message has to be yours. I mean, like if you're talking about the story, the flow, everything has to be yours. So,
but you're saying you can use the help of professionals to make it look nice or optically. So the visual representation, you can take help, but the content and flow and the data, etc., needs to be yours. Correct?
Yeah, I think that's the generation gap between me and Seher, right? I mean,
Canva is free. There are all these templates. You could just ready to go. So for all the other
yeah.
lifesaver.
And one other tip, typically when people draw these 2x2 quadrants, right? Invariably, your company will always be in the top right. Okay. So it is important to, just for the sake of humor, maybe put your company in the bottom left. Okay. And just change the axis accordingly. So, you have to try different things because every investor knows that your company is going to be in the top right quadrant, right? So the eye automatically goes there and then yawn, so that's the thing. So anyway, now what do you do when somebody says like, I'm a very realistic type person, right? I mean, Anita Rigo asks, I have a very candid, realistic approach to presenting. I'm not like a marketing person who can tell great stories. Now, how do I go about preparing my pitch?
Well,
is it like use somebody for the visual part, but make sure the content is true and honest? What do you think, Abhilash?
Absolutely. When you talk to the investors, they would understand in first 2 minutes that you might not be a very good presenter, but if he or she is interested in the sector to invest money in you, they would listen to you. Put in your own content, use your own language, use your own intelligence there, but only optically use some visuals here and there, but speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself. It is your voice.
It's your voice.
Right, Shanti, Ayush, Seher?
Agreed, yeah.
Agreed. One thing.
We can't be in so much agreement, then it's a boring panel.
No, I think it is not a surprise that this question comes from a young lady, a female participant. One comment that I've heard is that women are more realistic, and the men are, they talk big, okay? And sometimes we are unable to present even what you have achieved, very well. And that should not be the case. I mean, even though I'm a victim of the same practice, but I would suggest that, consciously let's make that effort, that that for a similar presentation, probably a marketing oriented man would be blowing it up so much. And, no matter how realistic
a marketing oriented woman as well.
Yeah, they're going to, they'll take it with a pinch of salt, right? And they may don't. So you have to put it out and you have to make it sound big.
Don't, like I think Seher said, don't be inhibited about who you are.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like the old saying, if you're very modest about who you are, you probably have a lot of reason to be modest.
Yeah.
Okay. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Then, okay, now we're running low. I'll just have two very quick questions. One question relates to, and quite a few people have asked that, how do you go about finding the right investor? Right. And so that is one thing. And we'll address that at the end. But before that, I have a question. How important is it to dress appropriately and look the part? What I mean by that is, obviously, you're going to be decently dressed and outfitted and all that. But I've seen a lot of people show up in a very professional, quote unquote, professional kind of a outfit, which looks very unnatural on them. And therefore, or should one just be casual or like an everyday outfit that one is in? What would you recommend? Shanti?
Yeah, I think you need to be professionally attired, not in a 3-piece suit or something. I mean, it has to be contemporary. I mean, today, people wear t-shirt and jeans. I mean, that's business casual as well. So, I mean, I think we need to know what is the trend and you have to adhere to it, is my opinion. Okay. You can't appear casual. If you are appearing casual, you are likely to be casual in...
Unless you're Mark Zuckerberg.
Right. That would be my impression. Yeah.
Okay.
I think dress in line with your brand identity.
You have to dress the part.
Like in our case, like we are a heritage company, so I would always go dressed in like a kurta pajama and maybe with a Nehru jacket kind of thing. I'm guessing, I mean, with Seher, like if it is about going green, I mean something which is speaking around that time. Like I would not expect her to go in like dressed in a suit, right? So I mean, dress the part and just show that whatever that part is. I mean, it should not look like, okay, you're just taking it light. You should be slick, but in line with the brand identity.
Got it. Okay. So let's now, last question. How do you find the right investors?
$1 million question. Sanjay.
How do we do that?
No, you have to be on social media today. Honestly, you have to be on platforms like LinkedIn. You have to do whatever has to be done.
Do whatever it takes to find the investor through your networks, alumni, groups like TIE, like NICE, etc., etc. Hang out, meet them, right?
Correct.
And how does one, okay, I think we have time for one last question. How does one find or pique the interest of an investor before you present? In other words, how do you reach out to them such that they say, I want to meet this person. I want you to make a presentation. What is a quick 1 or 2 things?
So for us, like what Shanti had mentioned, we do have, for us, in our case, we do have 2 minutes video, 1 minute video, or a very short pitch. So that I try and share. Generally, people like that, they have attention span of like 1 minute or 2 minutes only when they're actually screening. So that is a very good tool to begin with.
Yep. Okay. Anything else from anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, if you're writing on email, like research the person and
that is very important.
Yeah, like something that they might be interested in or what they are interested in. And I guess that's also one way to find potential investors is just see that the sector you're working in, who is there any competition which has gotten funded or someone who's trying to solve similar who has funded them and approach them. And I mean, like be a part of events online.
And follow their blogs, see what they like, what they're looking out for, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's a very important thing to do. So it's now 5 p.m. That brings us to the end of this panel. So first, let me thank all my panelists, Shanti, Seher, Ayush, Abhilesh. Thank the audience for participating very actively with all your questions and patiently hearing all of us out. And Geeta, do you want to say a few words to wrap up this session?
Thank you again for giving us the opportunity to participate in this program. And Shanti, you did a fantastic job, much better than the business plan competition. So looks like you're getting used to and becoming more comfortable with your pitches. That's very nice. Good to see that. And my message to all the NICE members is be yourself. You're actually telling a story, and be as comfortable as you are. Be yourself. And your story will definitely come out in whatever shape, form or the other. Don't be nervous. Don't become too professional. Be yourself. And I think that's a good message. In other words, be authentic. Be to who you are, because it's very easy for experienced people to make out if you're faking it very quickly. And once they know that, once they get a sense that you're faking it, that pretty much is the end of the presentation, right? If you don't know something, say you don't know, or that you will get back with more information. And like Seher said, maintain a sheet that says what's the follow-up necessary and actually follow up, right? There's nothing wrong if you say, I don't know. On the other hand, if you say a wrong answer or you make it up, that's dangerous, right? So thank you all very much. Do visit the niceorg.in as well as TIE Bangalore, and avail of all the information about entrepreneurship and all of it. I think we live in exciting times, they're wonderful times, and life is a pitch. Let's go make it happen. Thank you all very much. Bye-bye.